Hi, hello, and welcome back to a podcast where I talk about going from corporate drone to corporate dropout and everything in between. And I am fucking done. I'm just done. I'm done. I am done with the world. I am done with life. I am done trying to pretend like I am an organized queen, boss babe thing. I'm done with it all. I've talked a lot about my ADHD. I've talked a lot about my struggles, balancing working as an engineer for my 9 to 5 and creating this business and working with my clients. And the end of the day is I just want to be a fucking business owner. I want to be a content creator. I want to be all of these things, but my stupid brain will not allow me to be successful at these things. And so I'm going to work with my stupid brain for the next week, and I am solo cat parenting for the next week. And yes, that is nothing like actual solo parenting. I was just making a joke because my husband is on work travel for the next week. And well, I need to be a little bit feral. And by feral, I mean a lot. Okay, by feral, I mean I'm probably not going to sleep. I'm going to survive a lot on energy drinks, and I am going to film every YouTube video that I possibly can from this week's videos to the end of the year. And hopefully edit a few as well. And get some of my edited backlog from my gaming channel that I haven't launched still. When will I crash out? While also trying to record a video where I am on a treadmill all week for everything I do in the context of my 9 to 5? I'm not sure. I am genuinely not sure, but I have to make it happen. I can't keep sitting here and acting like chaos and fuckery didn't come to be because I am a boss babe and I know what I'm doing. Chaos and fuckery came to be because I am a hot mess. I create content on the whim. I go accidentally semi-viral for talking about fucking flip-flops. This is my life. We're gonna talk a lot about horror nights. We're gonna talk a lot about struggling with being a content creator in the parks when so many content creators already exist, when I just want to show a different side. Horror nights and gaming go hand in hand this year with FNAF and Fallout, and horror nights or the theme parks and fitness go hand in hand because you can get lots of steps and have a lot of fun things. You can do Pokemon Go and hatch your eggs, and there are so many ways to gamify fitness with the theme parks close by that if I wanted to attract a local audience, that would be the way to do it. But the fetish gamer and theme parks and gaming, sometimes they go together, sometimes they don't. Fitness and the parks, again, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they could be the complete and total opposite. And I want to show all of these different things, but I find it really hard to balance, telling people, hey, I'm a coach and I sell this thing, and just being a content creator. And I don't know how to balance it all, but when I am on my own and my spouse isn't here, he keeps me balanced. He keeps me in check and somewhat functioning more like an adult and not like a feral teenager or college student. When he's on travel, I go back to the feral teenager. Not because I hate the environment I'm in when he's home or anything like that. Don't read too much into that. It is literally just because my brain naturally wants to function like an ADHD gremlin. People talk about how ADHD is their superpower and ADHD is this great, amazing thing. I'm sorry. Yes, my hyperfocus is a superpower, but it is also one of the most annoying things on the planet. Why? Because I will hyperfocus at 3 a.m. when I'm sitting in bed next to my husband who's snoring. I can't wake him up. He sleeps so little as it is. He is a person who struggles with sleep. I'm a person who struggles with sleep. When he gets sleep, me running to my office to hyperfocus on a topic that suddenly came to my brain at 3 a.m. is not the best idea. So I'm wrestling this little gremlin in my brain that is, my mental illness, if you will. For lack of a better way of putting it, I'm just done. I can't, and I know I've said this before on the podcast, and if you've been around for a minute, or even when you saw the iteration on my original Coach Casey YouTube channel before it got rebranded to Fetish Gamer and I took everything away, I need to snap out of it. I haven't created a video. I obviously haven't podcasted here in a few weeks. I haven't created a video in like a month and a half, a month. I don't know. Filming was such a drag. And I think just sitting down to record this podcast in front of a camera, turning on my lights, being feral and spilling my drink as I do, that was full. This is welcome to my life, ladies and gentlemen. This is the chaos and this is the fuckery, and this is why this podcast was named Chaos and Fucking Fuckery. Because I'm gonna need to clean up the drink that I just spilt. She is Beauty. She is Grace. She has caffeine on her face. Grace is the last word you would use to describe me. I have been playing Silk Song for like 30 hours straight. I have slept in between Silk Song sessions. That is about the extent of my life the last 3 days. Could I have been doing other things more productive? Absolutely. But I think Silk Song, ironically, because DK Bonanza was addicting, but I was streaming DK Bonanza, so I couldn't just pick it up randomly, put it down, pick it up, put it down, pick it up, because I was streaming it. I wanted to keep the video consistent and I still ended up, not recording a boss because I got frustrated with it on stream, and then I went and played it handheld and I was fine. Welcome to my life. Would love to say that I've been, great with the Kaizen challenge and things like that, but I think when I try to control my chaos is when I end up failing. I am learning this. I am learning that I can take guidance and turn it into chaos. I need the chaos in my life. I need the fuckery in my life. I need life to exist inside a crazy bubble where I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow, let alone what I'm doing in 6 months. I can't do quarterly planning. It doesn't work for me. Why? Because I'll put all the plans down and then I will execute on none of them. Because I get bored with them by the time I actually have to execute them. I'm like, no, I don't like this. I'm going to do 5 other things. General advice does not work for people with ADHD. General advice does not work for my chaotically fucked up brain that needs stimulation constantly. Being a business owner that needs to fly by the seat of her pants is a fun thing in no ways humanly possible. Goal. I have a goal to fill my coaching roster and potentially have a down payment and/or a total cash payment on an RV by the end of the year. If I fill my roster, those two things could go hand in hand. But I will probably just end up testing, renting an RV here or there just to make sure that RV life is for me before I go and buy, a destination trailer and everything else. Because my thing is I want a destination trailer. I want something big enough that I can have the cats and work and exist in a space for a long period of time without having to pull it all. Like, I don't need to be moving every 2 or 3 weeks. Moving every 6 to 8 weeks is probably more realistic for me because I like to explore areas and I don't necessarily want to get a new vehicle to go with my travel trailer. And my little tiny SUV is not going to be the thing that, I can pull that with. But I've been researching, and we'll talk about I might becoming an RVer thing in a different episode entirely, because I've been researching a lot. And that's the chaos and fuckery, right? I will find myself down rabbit holes 8 hours later, and I know everything there is to know about starting RV life. And the problem with my thought of, starting RV life is I also think of it as just another content avenue. Not that there aren't 500, RVer TikTokers or YouTubers out there. I want to share. I don't typically see it from the perspective of how I always assumed I would end up in an RV, which is being a blue-collar spouse. My husband is no longer directly a lineman or anything like that, but he is in a line of work that is blue-collar enough that he is in different states at least once a week. And I don't want to just sit at home and be in the same old monotonous routine while he gets to enjoy. And it's work. It's not enjoying things. He's not enjoying, these states that he's in. I have traveled enough for work to know that traveling for work is not the same as traveling with your own interests. But I want to be able, if he needs to be up there this next week, right? He's going to be in Texas. And I want to be able to so badly, I want to be able to just, go find an RV park up in Austin and be there. Or Houston or Dallas or somewhere near where he's at in whatever state he's in and just, be there. Not because I want to follow him around the country while he works because I don't trust him, but because I want to be anywhere but home when he's not here. Home is no longer home when he's not here. Home is, home. And this is an interesting thing about me. I don't ever feel like a house is a home. I have never felt so cozy and warm in a home that it is the place that I always want to be. Home to me doesn't exist. And that is coming from someone who, my parents owned the house that I grew up in from the time I was in second grade to this current day. We moved around a couple different places. Lived in England for a short stint. My mom lived in Utah for a short stint. We had a different house while we were renting this one out. But point being is this one house has been a constant in my life since I was in second grade. It still never felt like home. And maybe that's due to the constant chaos I lived in the form of construction and in the form of my sport. And I was never really home. I feel like my dance studio felt more like home than my own home. It still doesn't feel home to me. It feels like I am a guest, I'm welcomed, sometimes not, in the place that I grew up in. In my current location, this is my house, but it is not a home. And it's not due to any decoration or a thing in the house that would make it feel homey. It somewhat is location, but it's also, I just don't have that feeling. A house is not home to me. Home is a feeling that I don't really know how to describe, and I think that's why I'm getting a lot of this, antsy, I need to not be normal, if that makes sense. I don't feel nostalgic to your stereotypical house, American dream. I don't know how to describe it. I did the things, right? I got the job. I saved the money. We bought the house. I knew when I bought this house that it wasn't going to be my end destination. And maybe that's, maybe I'll never feel like home until I design the home and build it myself and, have a huge play in actually building it. Maybe that's my issue. I genuinely don't know. Genuinely, I couldn't tell you. But I also don't want to go through the expense and chaos of building a home with my spouse to have it, not feel like home and want to move 2 years later. I'm starting to genuinely believe that travel trailer life is actually the life I want as long as my animals and my spouse are there. And that is a weird realization for me to realize that I was born and raised in this state. And the only reason I'm still here, I think, is because of tax benefits. I don't believe that had I received an offer elsewhere or had I, maybe not met my spouse or something like that, I don't think I would have stayed here. And that's not, putting any blame on my spouse or anything, but this is what I'm processing as I'm about to turn 30 in a few weeks. This state, I don't love the fact that I feel like I have to carry a pew-pew to survive in life, but that is the reality I live in, and I am kind of done with it. And while moving animals to different countries would be extremely difficult and almost impossible given my job currently, so until I am entirely self-sufficient, leaving the country is not an option. And with my spouse, I'm not even sure that's an option for him anyways. That's not an option. But I do want to, be a little wanderlust. We don't have children, and even if we did, I don't think it would stop me from being on the road. I feel like it is also the most healthy way of having a relationship with my mother, which is a conversation we'll have in a different episode, because I'm checking back in with this episode. This is just me saying I am not going to force myself to talk about fitness and gaming topics. Yes, that is my business, but those are covered on my fitness and gaming YouTubes. This podcast is the I started it as a way to chronicleize how I'm feeling about this journey of going from corporate drone to corporate dropout. And part of that is just me being me. Part of that is the weird introspection that comes with turning 30 in a few weeks. Part of that is, the ups and downs of having a spouse that travels for work all the time and living the chaos of when he leaves in the morning, not knowing if he's going to be in a different state that night. There are so many crazy things that while at the moment, no one really listens to this podcast, I want to be able to look back and see where I started. And if it helps some other people along the way or some people can relate, then great. Awesome. I found my people, which is another thing that I want to talk about. How do you make friends almost 30 and genuinely know they want to be friends? Because one thing my husband and this introspection that I'm surviving right now have made me realize is that I'm not sure I've ever had friends. And I'm not sure I've ever really truly enjoyed, other than, my own spouse, the company of other human beings. I have always been the family member or the friend that no one really has to check up on. Like, yeah, they're doing great. And, they'll text me every once in a while, or I'll text them every once in a while. Those are the types of friends that I keep, but I don't necessarily want to do everything. And I say alone, and I'm not meaning this about my spouse. I just mean in general. It's a jealousy thing in me, and I know it is. I watch him, go out of his way for all of these people that he has, and they're genuinely good people in his life. It is not, I'm hating on the people they are amazing people. And they're all, for the most part, friends or coworkers that he's found in his mid to late 20s. I don't understand, because the only friends that I've made in my 20s that I would consider friends, one wasn't a great friend, but also I realized my personality and hers didn't jive at all. If you've listened to me talk about my old podcast, it was my old co-host. I am not to get political in this sense at all, but I am one of those people that is very common sense and central, everybody mind their own damn business driven when it comes to that type of stuff. I think there are some things on the right that make sense, and there's some things on the left that make sense. And I don't think any politician is worth worshiping. I think they're all scumbags. I think 90% of them also belong in jail. But this person in my life was very extremely left-leaning and couldn't take criticism at all. And while I admit I'm a blunt human being, the fact that, she was the type of person that would blow me off when we were supposed to be recording because she overslept or because she was going to a boyfriend's house or whatever, I didn't feel comfortable in that environment, and I wouldn't consider that a friend. And then I have another friend that I've made that had similar goals with content creation and actually did make it work. I am so unbelievably proud of her, but she's not close, and she very much so runs her own show. We kind of met through this other friend, and when this other friend moved, we don't really we text every now and then, but it's not a friendship that really existed much outside of, the trio, if you will. And so I don't like my coworkers. And it's not like they're bad people, but they're not people that I would chat up outside of work. And I've never felt that way about people that I work with, that I genuinely want to hang out with you outside of work. And I'm a permanently awkward introvert. No, we're getting into this conversation. How do you make friends in your 30s? How do you deal with turning 30? Because I feel like, while it's not I'm the crypt keeper kind of old, it's not old by any stretch of the imagination given current life standards. There is some weird life force shift that happens when you go from being in your 20s to being in your 30s. I don't understand it, but it is raining down on me, and it definitely happened with my husband earlier this year. I don't understand it. I could ramble on for days about this stuff, though, so I'm going to turn a lot of these things into separate episodes going forward. I'm just going to live the chaos and fuckery life, because I think that was the way I was most consistent, when I had to force myself to think about topics and think about fitness, gaming business, when I was trying to make this advice. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So why why? And also, I was looking at some of my analytics, and since I've made this new channel, one of my most viewed episodes was one of my most unhinged ones. I will probably say some shit that gets me canceled. I will probably say some shit that people don't like. I don't care if this ends up growing into a monster that is so much larger than I intended it to be, then so be it. I don't care anymore. I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna be unhinged. I'm not gonna plan these episodes. I'm just gonna ramble on. And if you relate, hit the subscribe button, drop a comment, and tell me why you relate. If you have some advice, I may or may not take it, but I have a conversation. I'm all about conversations here, and that's chaos and fuckery, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the shit show. And I hope you enjoyed the chaos and get into some fuckery.